On this Wellness Wednesday, being your own advocate, how to take your power back in the examining room. Let's welcome back Dr. Elizabeth Rodgers, also known as the Sherlock Holmes of health. I love the name that you've given yourself, first of all. So why do you say you're the Sherlock Holmes of health?
You know, I say I'm the Sherlock Holmes of health because I had a near-death experience 16 years ago. Oh. And after that, I searched across so many different practitioners, specialists, healers, helpers, looking for the person to help me feel whole and healthy again. And I was never able to find that person. And then I really realized along that journey that that's because it was part of what I was ultimately meant to become, was to help people put the pieces of their health puzzles back together again.
Yeah, you know, we take our youth for granted sometimes, and as time passes, we get busy, things happen in our life, and then we start to realize our body is breaking down, but we don't know why.
Exactly.
But you say something interesting. Notice the labels that you give yourself and that doctors or other medical professionals give you. What do you mean by that? What labels are we talking about?
I love that you asked that question, and I think it's really important that people realize something, and that's that we can actually learn to heal ourselves. And there's so much research to support this. Some of my favorite research supporting this is the work of a guy named Masaru Emoto. He labeled water with positive labels, and when he looked at the molecules under a microscope, they looked like perfect snowflakes. However, when he labeled water, just glasses of water, with negative labels, inside the microscope, those molecules were completely destroyed. And the same exact...
Did the water hear what he was saying?
Well,
that's so
the thing,
interesting.
Is the same thing, and you can go look it up. So Google it, Masaru Emoto. You'll be able to see the pictures of the snowflakes.
That's wild.
What's wild is that the same thing happens in our bodies. So positive labels positively impact us, and negative labels negatively impact our bodies. So that's why the tips that I want to talk about today to help people reclaim their power are about the labels we give ourselves.
Well, I think people who have a naturally positive outlook on things, they do tend to heal faster, and who have positivity around them as well.
Exactly.
So that's also along the periphery, you need to have that positivity. But when people are just consumed by their illness or disease or whatever their diagnosis may be, that I can understand, that will put you in an earlier grave than necessary.
Absolutely. You know, and that's why I say to notice those labels, because I'm really in the business of helping people transform their health and well-being. That's really what I do as the Sherlock Holmes of health. And the first step in transformation and to make any kind of change is just awareness. So we've gone through our lives giving ourselves labels, adopting labels that doctors, other health professionals have assigned to us. And those labels could be in the form of things like a diagnosis, or just calling yourself unwell, saying things like, I'm just gonna have to manage it. I will always be this way. Well, you know, I've always been sick. I've always been sensitive. It's just in my genes. Our bodies and our cells are quite literally listening to that and hearing it and responding to it. And those labels can then really manifest in our bodies as symptoms.
And at some point, though, a doctor is going to have to say, and this happens every single day, I'm sorry to tell you, but you have X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So you have to have that information in order to take next steps.
Exactly.
So what would you recommend someone who's intaking that information?
I love that. And this is what I recommend. And I would say the same thing to any loved one, friend, client, is once you are aware that this is happening, right? We're accepting labels, they impact us negatively and positively depending on what they are. First, you need to use your power of choice. And if you've seen me here before, you've heard me talk about the power of choice. You need to use the power of choice first to choose to intentionally not adopt the labels that aren't beneficial for your health. A doctor can say to you, hey, you have this diagnosis. You can hear it, but you don't have to choose to wear it as your identity. And then you need to choose to assign yourself labels that actually align with how you want to feel. So if you were talking to me about this and we were just sharing, you know, a glass of wine or dinner, I'd say to you, okay, if you already had the health and life of your dreams, tell me how that woman would act. What would she be like? What kind of characteristics would she have? How would she feel? And maybe you'd say things to me like, well, she'd be confident, she'd be committed, and she'd actually already be healthy. Right. So the best advice I can give is stop waiting until you feel good or you feel your best to act like you already do, and start acting as if. So stop waiting until and start acting as if.
It's very profound. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And for people who want more inspiration, you can go to your podcast. It's called The Bridge.
Yes.
You can download it from all the places you can download podcasts. Thank you again, Dr. Rodgers.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. We'll see you again next time, and we're back in 2 minutes.